If you can get these 3 things right, then your shop will explode. You'll be a top Etsy seller and a millionaire. So in this video, I'm gonna take all that I've learned from my last 6 years of selling on Etsy and making over $1 million, and I'm going to break it down into a 3-part framework that you can follow and that I would use if I was starting completely from scratch today. I'll take you through how to start, what to sell, where to get your products, and how to market your products so that they actually sell effortlessly. We're going to start out at level 1, and we're going to call this level "Don't quit before you've started," because this is where most people are held back. But of course, you have to start and actually open your Etsy shop. You don't even need to have a product to sell at this point in time, but you need to open your Etsy shop. So what I'd be doing is coming up with a simple but unique business name and opening the shop, as this is the #1 obstacle most people face. And then I'd really push myself to get my first 10 listings up and running as fast as possible. I would recommend opening the shop from a link from another Etsy seller to get 40 free listings. Then you can get started without any costs as you add each initial item. You need to know that these first 10 listings don't really need to be perfect, but maybe these listings are for vintage items you already have collected because you want to start a vintage shop, or maybe they are pottery items you've made yourself, or maybe you want to sell digital templates or budgeting spreadsheets you've made, or maybe you want to do what I do, and that's add graphic designs onto items that others print for me. It's called print on demand. But figure out what type of products you are planning on making, and then start figuring out how you will add them on Etsy. There will be a lot of things you'll need to figure out just to get one listing up and running, because you'll need product photos, item descriptions, listing titles, tags, and also to figure out a pricing strategy. There's tons of free content out there to teach you all of these things, but for now, keep things as simple as possible and make each individual listing as simple as possible. Start with just a few photos and keep the number of items within each listing down to a minimum. For example, if you're going to sell t-shirts, maybe you just sell one color of t-shirt because you're just starting out. Now, after you've done the first 10 listings, now go ahead and add in a profile photo, a shop banner, an about me section. Fill out all the rest of the shop details that are available to you in Etsy. Maybe you even create a social media account and add the link to your social media account. But I would prioritize getting those first 10 listings up, because more often than not, customers rarely look at your entire shop before purchasing. They really don't care. They just want the item itself. But if you have no items to sell, then they can't make a purchase. Now, at this stage in level 1, you've opened your Etsy shop. It looks like an Etsy shop and you have 10 items for sale. The key here in level 1 especially is not to overthink and overanalyze every single aspect of starting your business. But yes, you should spend a little bit of time reading the Etsy seller handbook and learning about trademark and copyright laws, as you don't want your shop to be immediately shut down for something you shouldn't be selling in the first place. Don't be distracted from all of the other advice out there. Just finish your first 10 listings as fast as possible. Of course, the trick with starting most new things is to ignore the little voice in your head asking why anyone would buy your items in the first place, and then all of the other reasons why you can't be successful when you haven't even started yet. And if you haven't got this far yet, it's because you're probably held back by something in your head, wondering what you will sell, what your brand name is, how you will ever find the time to do this, or what other people will think if you start selling things online. Except once you start, you'll probably find that most of these things won't matter and no one will probably care one way or the other. And if you've already reached this point in level 1, you've already completed most of the heavy lifting to start your Etsy shop successfully. As most of the things to start your Etsy shop, you only ever do once or maybe once a year at most. Whereas soon you'll just get to focus on creating products, and as you'll see, each level actually starts to get easier and easier. At this point, you have essentially created your Etsy shop, and you don't need to do anything else if you don't want to. Now you're looking to actually start to make sales on Etsy with these 10 listings. which to be honest is likely going to be tough because in reality, even with hundreds of items, you still might only get a few sales a day. What you might find surprising is that in e-commerce, not everyone purchases after looking at your items. And this is what we call a conversion rate. And a conversion rate at or above 1% is perfectly good, meaning that if you get 100 visitors looking at an item, you might only get one sale. Now, don't worry, we are going to rely on using Etsy itself to help to bring us these sales. So level 2 is all about tweaking and perfecting these first 10 listings and adding an additional 100 listings. Level 2 is about everything just being good enough. Everything really just needs to be good enough. At this point, you might be considering investing in yourself and your Etsy shop as a business, and you might have to start making a few decisions because if you haven't done so yet, you will likely need to purchase some photos, design tools, or Etsy keyword research tools to help you grow your shop into something that will make you money. The better the quality of seed you decide to use to plant your garden, then the better quality of plant you will be able to grow. The easy thing is though, once you have one listing with beautiful photos and size charts or dimensions, or maybe you have additional photos that contain item descriptions or information about your shop, then it's very easy to copy this listing and then switch up the listing title and tags. And then you can use some of these same photos in every single listing to help you grow your shop to over 100 listings. This is the point where you probably need to start looking at what types of items are selling on Etsy and why those items in some shops look like one customers trust and would purchase from. You might need to hone in on your keyword research and sign up for some of the Etsy keyword research tools like my favorite, Sales Samurai. And you might need to move from a free photo editing or graphics software to a premium one like Canva. You might also start to get a few sales in your shop. If you are selling print-on-demand products, you might have noticed that your item costs are too high, and you might want to switch to a print provider where the item costs are lower and the production times are faster, and use Monster Digital like I do from Printify. At this point, you need to become focused on the art of creating a listing and writing titles and tags. You need to get to 100 listings, and I honestly wouldn't get crazy about having a specific niche. A general one is fine, but you could add items that are handmade vases or bowls or mugs, but they can all be different items. Or perhaps your store is all sweatshirts, but I would add items that are something you personally understand, like sweatshirts for moms if you know something about moms, or political sweatshirts or sports fan sweatshirts. Don't get so specific into a niche that you can't get out of it when some new trend comes along that you'd like to take advantage of quickly. You're just trying to get good enough at creating products and writing listing titles and tags without a specific niche in the shop, but literally for whatever you feel like that's allowed on Etsy. Maybe that's items with daisies or fairy tales or books, but it really doesn't matter what the niche is of your shop at the moment. You're trying to create listings with photos and figuring out how to list those items on Etsy. You're trying to build confidence and skill that you can create listings with decent keywords in your titles and tags while still trying to make your overall shop cohesive enough that someone will buy from you. Your pricing doesn't need to be perfect and your items don't need to be perfect. Level 2 is about everything just being good enough. Everything really just needs to be good enough. And again, you might start to find that you procrastinate from a little voice in your head that tells you something isn't good enough or that you doubt these items will ever sell. So you really just have to upload items to Etsy that are items you've come up with that aren't trademarked and just see if any of them start to sell. Now, if you're enjoying what I'm saying so far, I'd really appreciate it if you have a moment to give a thumbs up, as it really does help with the YouTube algorithm. And this is the point where you have to decide if getting a few random sales here and there from random items you've uploaded to Etsy into many different niches is okay, or if you really want to scale your shop to help you reach your shop's full potential. You can probably already start to look back at some of these listings and say, wow, this is really a hideous item and no one will buy it. Or wow, this item is really popular and I think I can grow it into a product collection. You might already have customers reaching out and asking you to add an item similar to one that you already have. And this starts to give you some clues about gaps in the marketplace that you can take advantage of. If you have a couple listings that have started to sell a few times, then maybe you want to try your hand at using Etsy ads, or maybe you simply want to expand on those items and improve upon them. So if you were already offering journals for book lovers, then maybe you can add an entire collection of journals for different kinds of book lovers, like maybe for those into romance novels or fantasy. Or maybe you just want to add entirely new products for those customers like mugs. Now you really must invest in your business with better quality photos. So maybe you need to purchase a new camera, or maybe you need to purchase new items to take pictures of. Now we are at level 3, and level 3 is all about refinement. And you have to decide, is your Etsy shop just a hobby, or are you really going to start to treat it like a business? Are you an amateur Etsy seller, or are you looking to be a professional Etsy seller? And how much more time and energy are you willing to put in to grow your Etsy shop? Besides refinement, level 3 is all about making Etsy work for you. And there are only 3 things you need to do to get Etsy to work for you. If you can get these 3 things right, then your Etsy shop will explode. You'll be a top Etsy seller and millionaire. And that's to convince a customer to click on your item, get them to purchase your item, and then get them to leave your shop a positive review because they're happy. To get people to click on your item, you need to have great keywords in your titles and tags so people can actually see your listing, and you need to have a photo of the item that evokes emotion. And all of this offered at a great price the customer is actually willing to pay. Now, to get the customer to purchase from your shop as opposed to purchasing something similar from someone else, you need to have sufficient branding, such as photos and colors, to evoke an emotional response from your customer, and enough descriptions and photos to make your shop seem trustworthy and legitimate. It goes without saying that, of course, the price of the item and the shipping costs need to seem fair to the customer, so they will complete their purchase as soon as possible. Purchasing the item is what pushes Etsy to push out the item to more and more customers, help both you and Etsy get more sales. Then you need to get a positive review from your customer. Then what you offer in your listing needs to align with the customer's expectations from the photos and description. Make sure your sizing charts and item descriptions are as accurate as possible. Make sure that your item truly looks like the colors seen in the photos. Then if you can get people to click and to buy, you're well on your way to having your item pushed out to more and more customers. But if you want your items to truly go viral on Etsy, customers love to purchase when they see positive customer reviews, which makes them purchase with less hesitation, as the item is seen as having tons of social proof from already happy customers. And every day, Etsy is placing more emphasis on having positive customer reviews, with the Star Seller program to promote and showcase shops that ship on time, message back their customers on time, and have positive reviews from customers. And these shops are highlighted with a little purple star, indicating to customers that these shops are reliable and trustworthy. But Etsy is also encouraging sellers to respond to customer reviews, as customers like to see sellers who appear to be active in their shop. Now, this is the point where you might start to settle into selling comfortably, and you might choose more of a niche for your whole shop. This is the point where you have more data, where you've learned from customers that you've had, any sales you've had, about items that you tried to sell and either they worked or didn't sell at all. And this is the point where you start to see how specific you might need to be with creating items that your customers will want to purchase, and what those customers' needs, wants, and aspirations truly are, and the type of products you need to create to help to fulfill those needs. This is the point where you've learned how to price your items and still make a profit, and how to ensure you're able to help your customers effectively without being scammed. Plus, you can start to see that when you do have items within specific niches, you can start to attract customers who will purchase multiple items at a time, and this is really where your shop starts to take off as you work to refine your shop and expand on the quality of listings you already have. You can still have multiple niches, but are you selling to 20-something women who play team sports and drink coffee? Or are you selling products to men who are outdoor enthusiasts? This is also the point where you need to continue to do a deep dive into Etsy ads or social media and Etsy SEO and keywords, meanwhile ensuring that everything in your shop is cohesive and up to date. This is the point where you're likely adding new items fairly consistently to help reach new customers or to create new items that will stand out amongst the ever-increasing competition. It is with Etsy ads that I've had the majority of my listings be able to take off, and then to have trendy items turn into bestsellers for month after month, with one of my bestseller listings bringing in over $61,000 of revenue. Etsy ads are the place to get in front of people already looking on Etsy to make a purchase of some kind. So while Etsy ads might not seem cheap when you're starting out, your customer is already an Etsy customer and is just one click away from making a purchase. So coming up with a daily budget and then working to tweak the keywords on your listings to do the work for you is how to get daily and consistent sales like clockwork. And it's the easiest way to get customers to purchase in your shop with very little effort. You don't have to go to Instagram every day and make a new post. You don't have to add new items to Etsy every single day for eternity. You need to get customers to purchase your already existing items. It is definitely worth it to put in the time to learn Etsy ads or another type of advertising if you prefer, as this will help your shop grow more like a snowball, getting larger and larger, versus you throwing darts at a dartboard aimlessly. If you are just starting out on Etsy and wondering what to do if you have zero Etsy sales, then definitely check out this video right here. And in the meantime, I wish you all the very best of luck with growing your Etsy shop for today, tomorrow, and for well into the future. See you later, superstar.